guys, I'm Dr. Karen. Thank you so much for writing in, and I think you are onto something there with what you're describing. I'm very suspicious that we're probably dealing with some sort of acid reflux, particularly as you've cut Duke's feeds down from twice daily to just once. And so, there are some dogs that are just used to having one meal a day. I personally prefer to have 2 meals at least. Perhaps that's just me putting my own preference on there. But essentially, with 1 meal a day, you've basically got 22 hours where the stomach is totally empty. And that means you've got stomach acid sitting there with nothing to absorb them. So that's why I tend to recommend feeding at least 2 meals a day, because especially first thing in the morning, they do tend to get that real sort of reflux kind of feeling. Even dogs that have an afternoon or evening meal can suffer with that. Of course, there's lots of other different reasons that could explain why Duke's suddenly eating lots of grass and throwing up, like inflammatory bowel disease, food sensitivities, or even some more worrying signs. So obviously, if the vomiting persists, then we definitely need to get Duke checked out at the vet. I've included some links below just for some more information on vomiting and gastrointestinal disorders. But provided he is continuing to eat well and is seeming bright and well in himself, then the first thing I would be doing would be going back to feeding him twice a day. So rather than cutting out one whole meal, I would just reduce the overall amount that you are feeding him if we're needing to get some of that weight off, and just feeding him 2 smaller meals, preferably sort of split roughly 12 hours apart or as close to that as possible. The other thing that is particularly important with dogs, and especially with breeds like boxers with a very deep chest, is also making sure that he is not doing any kind of exercise for at least 2 hours before and after having a meal, because that can put them at a high risk of developing something called bloat or GDV, which is a huge disaster, and we definitely want to be avoiding that. Now, if you don't see an improvement within a few days of going back to 2 meals a day, then I would definitely recommend making an appointment at the vet. And if you're wanting to talk a little bit more about this, if you're wanting to talk in a little bit more detail, you can always go to pangovet.com and book a one-on-one online appointment with one of the vets. And that way you can always have a chat about Duke from the comfort of your own home. Hopefully things will settle down pretty quickly once Duke goes back to 2 meals a day. But if not, obviously do reach out to your vet. All the best.